on this computer. Beautiful.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to the Rossi Brothers Sports Podcast. My name is John, joined as always by my brother Adam. And today we are once again joined by a special guest, Mr. Hartzell Gray. Hartzell was born and raised in Kansas City. After running track at UMKC and transferring to Mizzou to study political science and sports management, he landed an internship at 96.5 The Buzz, a local radio station. It turned into a job and he hasn't looked back since. Hartzell is now the host of the award-winning KC Morning Show podcast. He's also a host for KCUR 89.3, Kansas City's NPR station, and Sports Radio 810 WHB. He's the voice of Children's Mercy Park, home of Sporting Kansas City, and Legends Field, home of the Kansas City Monarchs. He's the part owner and voice of Journey Pro Professional Wrestling. He's also an organizer with KC Tenants and KC Tenants Power, the citywide tenants union and its associated political arm, working to protect tenants' rights and bring economic justice to working class people in Kansas City. So welcome, Hartzell, and thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me, y'all. This is great. This is awesome. Happy Saturday. I guess I pulled back the curtain. We're recording on a Saturday, so happy Saturday, world.
Yeah, indeed. Happy Earth Day.
Look behind.
Happy Earth Day. What a beautiful Earth Day it is.
Go.
A good Earth Day in Kansas City. Absolutely.
A good Earth Day on Earth, if I dare say so.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all. This is great. I've been looking forward. I know we've been like jockeying schedules left and right, but we made it work, and sweet content is en route to everyone listening.
I'm very excited.
I hope they will be content with it. Sorry.
Oh, I'm already just hanging out with my bros. I'm already content, y'all. So hey, we've already set the bar so high.
Perfect.
So high.
Yeah. I feel the need to apologize anytime I make a pun like that, which I always do. So
pun intended.
Let this be a standing
intended.
Apology for like every time I do it.
You're good. Pun intended and encouraged. Always encouraged.
Cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Anyway, sports podcast. So yeah, might actually talk about sports a little bit to start off.
There's an idea.
So coming in.
I just said there's an idea.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We'll do a sports thing. Let's just
great
do
idea,
a sports
novel idea. Yeah. So Hartzell, we understand you ran track at UMKC. What was the role of athletics growing up? Early in your life, and kind of how did you end up running? In D1.
Yeah. No. So I ran track from when I was I guess 8 or 9 until I was 21 or 22, and so I was a sprinter. Anything over a lap, that's punishment. What are you doing? If you've seen one left turn, you've seen them all. So yeah, I was a short and sweet kind of guy. Sprinters, 100, 200. Coach always said, hustle if you win the curve, you win the race. And so I did win my fair share of curves, and I won my fair share of races.
There you go.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, so that's how I got to UMKC. Ran track there on a full ride, and then had some heart stuff come up, and so I retired, which was actually really a nice blessing in disguise. I mean, honestly, if I don't do that, I don't know if I'm talking to you all now or doing Sporting KC stuff or radio. I don't know what I'm doing, honestly. In fact, that's going to be a fun existential thought. Maybe the next 420. Maybe next 420. I'll do a deep dive on that. So started, just as an athlete. I was a history nerd in high school. I wanted to be either a campaign manager, run for office, or be the GM of a sports team, because that's how the route goes, right?
Yeah.
Right. I was that's everybody. Everybody.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone that I know of in history. Yeah, sorry.
And so ended up transferring to Mizzou after I retired from running track at UMKC, and did acapella, was in the J school for a little bit, but everybody sucked, so I left that really quick. The teachers were awesome, but the kids just sucked. Oh my God. My dad works at Viacom, and my dad my dad's a photographer and my mom's a nurse. So kick rocks. So I got out of that. At one point, y'all, I was actually a secondary ed major. I went through 5 different majors. and got like no degree. So, that's a win, I'm sure, right? I'm like
I say,
18 credit hours away. I'm close
Yeah.
still. I'm gonna get the paper from mom for sure. But yes, I did secondary ed for a while, just try to find my place in all this stuff, and so 2013 came around and I was still at that time finally kind of in my what I thought was a lane. So at that point I was in sports management and poli-sci, and so I had to get an internship for sports management. And so I was like, hey, this is great. I am a former media guy. I did broadcasting and all that stuff in high school. And like I said, I was in the J school for a little bit at Mizzou. And so I said, this would be a great way for me to maybe like bring the best of both worlds together. And so I was like, maybe I can get an internship at a radio station, like a sports talk radio station, get a chance to really do all the things that I love, and so applied for 610 Sports Radio, summer 2013. They were full. And so my buddy hits me up and he says, Hartzell, 610's full, but the Buzz, 96.5 The Buzz, they've got some openings and the Killers are coming to town. So do I need to say anything else? Okay. And I was like, no, you don't have to say it. Like, go ahead and apply for me. And that's the funny part. It's like, yes, the job that like was my launching off point, someone else definitely applied for me. And I'm so happy that Joe did that because that was kind of what got things kind of going for me. Interned at 96.5 The Buzz, and my MO was always to be seen without making it look like you're trying to be seen. And saw that Killers show, cried at that Killers show. When they get to the crescendo of when you were young, when you were young, and then well, like all the pyro, they had like the streaming pyro that came down, like it looked like a shower. It was nice. Boys, it was a moment I'll never forget. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. And just doing stupid shit like that, and like literally at one of those shows that we were at, we were giving out like station bumper stickers and stuff, right? And so we were at its big traffic jam. Cars didn't move for like an hour and a half. It was, I think, I forgot what concert it was. It was a big one. It was a really big one. It might have been Vampire Weekend or something like that. And so Death Cab for Cutie, that's who it was. It was a Death Cab show. And so we're stuck on the highway and I'm in the Buzz van and I've got a bunch of bumper stickers like just on me. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to stick my entire body out of the Buzz van and just give out bumper stickers on the highway. And that was awesome. And I almost died like 3 times. And it was good, it was a good tweet, and just stuff like that where it's ridiculous and it's fun, but like I'm doing it because I legitimately like love this. And once you get that itch, man, you always want to have it. One of my bosses told me like fame is fleeting, and it is. And I'm not even saying what I have is fame, but it is nice. And from that moment on, it was just like, how can I keep doing dope shit with my people, and from 2013 until now, I've gotten a chance to do a lot of dope shit with our folks, and I'm so lucky. I'm so spoiled. But as a hometown kid, it's pretty cool, and so since then, got the gig at Sporting KC in 2014, got a chance to party at US Open Cup celebrations and have folks who I admire on TV who I can actually like text and call a friend. Like, that's awesome. Like I'm sitting, and I sorry, I can ramble, but I was sitting, this was 2021. No, this was in the bubble. This was 2020. Because we were doing limited capacity games and all that stuff. And fast forward from 2013 to 2020, I'm now 7 years at 96.5 The Buzz. And we all get that same COVID phone call, right? And like, what's really interesting about this game that I play, the space that I get a chance to kind of occupy, is that in media, what you do, well, the ones that say you do it right, what you do is who you are. And so when you've got someone that tells you that, hey, we don't need you right now, or we can't afford to keep you right now, like so many of us got, at that COVID time, it hits even maybe harder, or maybe a different kind of hard, because it's not like it was my services you didn't need. It was me you didn't need. And like, that's not fair, but like someone in my space, that's what we thought, you know? And so I'm at Sporting, and I say all that, like, I literally, like, as I just tell you that like shit hit the fan, my follow-up sentence was I'm at Sporting, you know, like that in itself is like a privilege, and it's something I'm so proud of, and I'm very lucky that I could say that, you know, in the same sentence. But as I'm going through one of the most traumatic times in my life, you know, my job that was my everything is gone. I'm at Sporting Park, or Children's Mercy Park, for a sporting game. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there was a bit of a woe is me that I was going through, and we picked up a dub. And after the game, I'm that dude. I like to get a little glass of wine afterwards. I like to think I'm just following in the Peter Vermees footsteps, because he also has a glass of red after. And so I go get my glass of red.
Sounds like a wonderful celebration.
I take it back out to the field, and I'm sitting in the front row. Because I like to just kind of decompress sometimes after that. After the games, I'll just go and just sit, you know. And so I'm drinking this little glass of wine, and some homies were sitting right next to me. And I'm asking them, how's life? You know, how you handling all this wild craziness of the Panini? And they asked me the same thing. And I'm like, you know, almost like on the verge of a sob story. And, you know, I'm like, you know, this and that. And I'm just, whatever. Are they ever going to call you back? And I got to that point where I'm dropping an Office quote. And I went to that same, I went to the Andy quote where, you know, I wish they would have told you were in the good old days when you're in them, you know? And I even said that line. And there's a little bit of a pause, and everybody looked around, and they're like, you mean like now? Because I then had to take a second and think, you're right. Like, shit sucks and life is hard, but I'm having this conversation in the front row with a glass of wine at Children's Mercy Park. You know, it's like, that's not to say that life didn't get awful, but I'm also just a really fortunate guy. And I've tried to make, in all this craziness, my through line Kansas City, so that even if I lose a gig here or there for whatever reason, the new normal is wild. If my North Star is still us, then we're doing something bigger together. You know, like I could say that, you know, I'm as good at this, or I'm really awesome at that. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing it for something that's bigger than yourself, then you kind of come across as an asshole. And for what I do for a living, I need you to not think that I'm an asshole. I need you to hang out with me. So yeah, that's my origin story. I know we started off with a question about track and field, but it is all kind of oddly interrelated, because like if I
100%, yeah, absolutely,
maybe give it one more go and say, F this heart thing that you said is serious, it's not serious, I'm gonna keep running. Well, you know, if I make a different decision, I don't know what I'm doing right now. But I'm very happy that I'm at where I'm at.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, man, quite the origin story for your radio gig. Didn't even apply for it yourself. That's amazing. But I'm curious, you talk about Sporting, like how does one land the gig to be the voice of Children's Mercy Park?
Oh yeah, so that one I looked into. Another one I just like, when I say be seen without making it look like you're being seen, like that really was everything for how I got started. So at the time, Sporting had just signed on to be a studio sponsor for 96.5. So it was like the Sporting KC Studios, brought to you by some beer. And it might have been Boulevard at the time. And so part of the partnership was just really doing a lot more just strategic events together, just really trying to like hone in on the things we do well, and integration with the radio station and the soccer club. And we had a bunch of like, you know, station IDs. This is Matt Beaver with Sporting KC, and you're listening to, you know, that kind of stuff. And so at the time, the PA guy, Eric Danielson, who currently still does the voiceover work for Allen Fieldhouse for KU. And so he was doing double duty at the time, and he decided that he was going to focus more on Allen Fieldhouse. And so the opportunity opened up that Sporting needed a PA guy. So not even at the time, we weren't even doing like the dog and pony show on the field. It was strictly just PA, sporting Kansas City and Children's Mercy Park, believe in, that kind of stuff. And so I applied for that. They sent us an email, asked if the Church of Laszlo, the afternoon show, was interested. And if you know anything about the Church of Laszlo and Slim Fast, you know that is not what they're interested in, not whatsoever. But I was, because like I don't say no to anything. And I got there. Remember, I got there a little bit too early because I could still hear the person before me auditioning, and I wasn't even thinking twice because I was so nervous. But I just pulled in and I had my window down because it's hot as hell. And I'm like noticing myself like, I'm like getting like low key fired up. I'm like, what for what? And I realized that like, oh shit, it's the guy who's like auditioning in front of me who's got me hype in the car. So clearly like this job is his. Thanks for playing. And so I go in there though and I do my thing. And Chris Weish, who's heading things up at the time, said, "Are you coachable?" And I was like, "Oh, the most. I tell you what, I am the definition of coachable." And which, by the way, as someone who's auditioning for a thing, when the first thing someone says is, "Are you coachable?" It's like, oh my God, was I that bad? But at the time, I'm like, Hartzell, don't you mess this up. You say yes, you smile and nod, yes. And
there's only one answer to that question when they ask, right?
There is only one, and the answer is yes, you can coach me up. And that's what happened. So yeah, we did from 14 until, God, I forget now, 16 or 17. I was just strictly up top, just doing lineups from up top. I was doing, the PA read for Homeland Security to, the Great Clips hair cam. Like I was all up top in the press box, and we had a chance to, I don't even remember what it was now. Some client said, let's just try something weird. And so we did a halftime thing. It was actually towards the end of the season in 2017 or 16. It was towards the end of the year. We said, why not? And did a halftime game that apparently people liked, because I also thought it was terrible. I didn't think it was good at all. I was so nervous and just like was trying to imitate every pro wrestling promo I could think of and every like, indoor sporting, halftime host. I was just basically just, trying to copy and paste, but it worked. And ever since then, I think we've got something that's just really special. Like, I don't know a ton of clubs that do what we do. And by a ton of clubs, I don't know of any club really that does what we do. I've been to a few different matches at different stadiums and different parks, and it ain't what we got. So just really fortunate that somebody saw something that was worth giving a shot, and here we are. Kind of, honestly, if I can say it myself, I think we kind of set the bar for how you do, at least on the in-stadium basis. I think we set the bar in Major League Soccer. I'm willing to say other sports as well, but I don't know them. But I know for a fact MLS we're the best.
Man, I'll never forget the first time I was at a sporting game and I hear, "Who's defender? Number 7." Like, wow, that guy's got a voice. And then at halftime, I hear this like beautiful voice just talking to like some little girl about, you're gonna like shoot this thing and or whatever. And I look up on the screen, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the same guy who did the starting lineup. Like, he has
and especially like because on the weekends I do NPR, right? And so that's the funniest part, is like I'll do NPR in the morning, and this is KCUR HD, Kansas City's NPR station. I'm Hartzell Gray and such and such and such. And then I get to sporting, it's like we are lit, we are live, and it's like a complete, it's the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it works. Again, I'm playing dress up. Like, I am someone who watched professional wrestling at a much too early age, and that stuck with me. Like when Howard Finkel would give you the attendance record at WrestleMania, like I remembered that. Like, oh, this is the official attendance for WrestleMania 17, 64,000. I mean, like, I just remember that stuff. And like I remember like watching The Rock cut a promo in 1998. I'm like, oh my God, like that's what I want to do. Like, that guy has these people by like the palm of his hand, and it face or heel, good guy or bad guy, like to be able just to own and fill that space and make it uniquely yours, but also like, you know, what good is a, you know, what good is it to have someone say that, oh, I'm the big and strong tough guy and this guy sucks and so I'm gonna beat him? Well, that doesn't make you look tough at all. Like, it just means that you beat up like a scrawny guy. It's like, why is Batman Batman? It's because he's got the Joker that makes, you know, they elevate each other. And so like, it sounds ridiculous, but like sometimes I think just knowing like some of this, I call it the ring psychology because I'm a wrestling guy. So like sometimes coming into these events and coming into just live entertainment with a, you know, just kind of with that, for lack of a better word, just like that kayfabe mentality. You know, kayfabe in wrestling means that you live the character.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a bad guy, then if you see me on the street or if I'm getting gas, then I'm a bad guy when you see me at, you know, at the bar. You know, like if I'm the bad guy on screen, you're not going to see me hanging out with one of the good guys, you know, at the bar. No, you know, and there is something to live in that character. There's something to, you know, having folks feel like they're a part of something that's bigger than themselves when they walk into the room. You know, we're in this world that, you know, has its own feel and it's got its own, you know, innate culture, and like it's also like a cereal. If you think it like the cereals of the 30s and 40s and 50s, like, you know, while you might have made it this week, you may not catch the next couple of weeks, but if you came back in a month from now, you don't feel like you're lost. You know, like it's just like while the world is still revolving, you may have to, you know, take a couple out ramps because life, but when you come back on, it's not going to be unfamiliar, it's not going to be foreign, it's going to be like, you know, hit and play.
Yeah. As you say, I feel that a lot. I don't identify necessarily. I don't quite have the performative ability to be entertaining. Like it's
what are you
I don't know.
saying? You
I was gonna
stop
say
all that.
it's amazing to like watch, you know, something. Even like I was never much of a wrestling fan, but like to see something like that and like just be so engaged. Like I think it doesn't come naturally to me. I think I don't know, could do it in certain contexts if I know I can plan ahead. But that's beside the point. The point though being that like I don't know, I love what you're talking about with the kayfabe of it all, and even like I think maybe a lot of people would look at wrestling, and like to what extent it might be scripted or something, and compare that to, you know, Sporting KC or whatever. But am I right? Like the reason why, you know, sports, why people get invested in sports, like it's all a set of rules that people just made up, and now you're playing a game of soccer or whatever.
And you want to be,
so I think,
you want to be ingrained in that. You want to be a part of that. You want to feel like, you know, while I can't, you know, shoot the goals personally, like I want to feel like I'm still on the field though, you know?
yeah, exactly.
And there's ways to do that. Like there's, you know, I think I was mentioning this a few days ago to some other folks, you know, like one of the biggest things I think people miss about like any live show, but especially the live show that we do, because I can tell you firsthand just kind of how it goes. It's so much more intentional than I think people give it credit for. You know, everybody thinks like, oh yeah, I could do that. And maybe you could, but I would guess you probably couldn't. And it's not just saying you couldn't do it, it's actually being able to explain why you couldn't do it. And that's because of the intention of it all, like just intentionality behind, you know, even just having music underneath here versus not there, you know, it's just weird stuff, but like it all works. It all makes that psychology work.
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating too, like that comparison, but also being able to bring that to, yeah, as you say, it's the importance of having that type of, you know, hands in something live like that, being able to bring it, just bring the whole thing. Anyway,
being able to bring the mentality, but also I'm just curious, being able to bring the voice. Like John, before you hopped on, was drinking his tea and was like, I think it's kind of cold last night. They got a couple inches of snow in Denver. So he's like, my voice a little you know, not 100% this morning, so working on the tea. But he was like, I'm sure Hartzell will be able to tell us what he does to like take care of the voice. But I'm curious, like, what are the secrets?
I wish I was better. People ask me all the time. And I need to get better. I'll be completely honest. I need to do better. I need to do better because I don't do enough. I'll take a vocal rest maybe here or there where I try not to talk a bunch. I will occasionally one of my like tricks I tell people about, if right before you go on, if you get some like Lay's potato chips, or for me sometimes I'll get popcorn because we have popcorn at the games, and if you just have a few bites of it, but between a little bit of the salt and a little bit of the ruffiness of it, it sounds ridiculous, but it kind of does scratch your throat a little bit. And by that, it means it kind of clears some of that stuff out. And you can't eat a bunch, because if you eat a bunch, it ends up like putting more buildup in there. But if you just have a couple bites, like some chips, like I said, I do popcorn sometimes, just something that's got a little bit of a edge to it, a little roughness. So it, kind of just kind of brings some of that down, and then you're ready to go. And then, a ton of water. Sometimes it's chilly today, so I would probably have a coffee or a hot chocolate nearby. Just some, I'm also a baby and I get cold, so mostly just for warmth. And that's about it. Everyone, if I had $1 for every time someone asked me what I do for my voice, and if I had another $1 for every time I gave a bad response, I would be rich, because I get asked it a lot. And I don't have a good answer because I'm not good. So I need to actually be a better adult and probably take care of that.
I was gonna say, no, I think you have a good answer already. I think what you need to do with it is like find, Lay's or some other chip company and like get a little
that's the move.
deal going. Yeah, exactly.
It's all one big work. That's my jig. And I need to actually get on that. Thank you for actually giving me a great reminder. I need to write that down. I need to talk to some chip people. Yes.
So now you really are gonna be rich.
I will. I was gonna say I will. I am a big popcorn person, so I might have some popcorn before our next podcast record.
I'm telling you, give it a shot.
I'll try it out.
Take about 3 or 4, eat them up. Get a good what I'm talking about. Get a good swallow. Like a good, and then you let me know what you think. More often than not, especially those first couple games back of the year, give me a couple good gulps. Oh yeah, some guys chips. I'm set. Ready to go. Ready to do a show.
Wow, I'm excited about this. Yeah, I'm gonna try this too. Next podcast.
Yeah. Give it a go. Let me know what you think.
Man, Hartzell, I want to change gears a little bit. You gave an incredible interview, I believe last February, on the topic of Black History Month. It's on Sporting KC's website. I would point all of our listeners there to read that. Some really amazing quotes you gave in that, some great insights. Thanks, but when we talk about the world of athletics, I'm curious, I guess kind of two sides here. What do you celebrate most when it comes to racial equality in the world of athletics? And then what do we need to most urgently change?
Good questions. Those are excellent. What I'm most encouraged about is the opportunity that sports brings, right? Because how many times do we say that sports is a mirror, right? And I think that we say that and we don't actually think about what that means, because the answer is yes, it is. But if you really get into the weeds of that, it's a mirror because it's a reflection of us. It's a reflection of who we are, not just as people, but who we are in the context of this time that we're in, and in this time that we're in now, sports has provided such an opportunity for awareness. The platforms are moments that we can use and make movements. I'm big on that. And alrighty, so just the opportunity that sport brings, because I have folks who will listen to things that I say or posts that I make, and it might resonate with them because maybe I was able to present it in a way. And I don't say that because I'm some kind of spectacular orator or because I have a way around an argument. It's that they see me in this context of sport, and it just is for so many folks, it is just a natural first step to coalition building, and they may not even realize it. They don't even realize that that unifier, that through line could be the beginning of a transformational conversation. you know. And
For
so
sure.
folks who maybe don't give the time of day to someone because of the letter that's after their name, you know, or because of something that they posted, or because of whatever, maybe that doesn't even matter. I am starting to realize and recognize now, for me at least, that I can acknowledge that because of what I do, because of the context, because of my environment, like I think people might look twice. They might say, "Oh, you know what? He don't make no sense." But that's Hartzell. What's he saying now? Oh, okay, interesting. I mean, I don't know if I believe him, but he makes a decent point. Whereas if it was someone else, you know, and I understand that like there's power to that, and there's also an opportunity in that. You know, I can't. I used to be really big on, I'm not good at fluffing myself, but like I have to at least, I need to acknowledge that, because that's an opportunity for me. Like if I'm going to be someone that wants to bring in everyone under this tent and wants to coalition build and wants to move towards a more, social democratic world, I need to acknowledge the role that I can play in that, and hold me accountable, of course, but we all got to get in the game now. And to bring it back to the beginning, sports is a mirror, and the mirror means that we need to reflect. And it also means that like we're all involved in that process. You might think you're in the nosebleeds just watching, a sports thing, but you're in a stadium surrounded by your community. That's public. So, what am I, is what I'm doing affecting someone that's bigger than me, or someone who's just not me? Yeah, I'm an individual, but you're an individual within a society, and I happen to think that we're better together. Like, to the fullest extent of this thing is the pursuit of happiness. It's like the pursuit of our collective happiness, right? And so, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Life is that awakening. We got that awakening of consciousness, right? And that could be on an individual level. And then you've got the liberty of it all. So a bunch of us did that together. A bunch of us had this awakening where we said, oh, I'm here. So how do we make this work? So a bunch of us now use that, and that liberty is the democracy of it all, right? So the awakening, you've got the governing. So I, as an individual, am awake. The liberty means that this is how we're going to govern ourselves, and the pursuit of happiness is taking all those steps and then building on what you want to see. And what we're saying, and what we said in the declaration from Jump Street, from day one, is that like that's like who we are. So when I say that I want to bring you into this thing and we want to go make a moment of movement, and that movement involves universal health care, it involves universal pre-K or education, or a child tax income, or child tax credit, or all these social democratic policies and programs, the New Deal, all those things. What we're saying is it's not suggestions, that they're actually like endowed unto us. In fact, we should be demanding them. And we can only do that, and it's only at its most efficient, if we're doing that together. There's power in numbers, and the power of the people, we can do some truly extraordinary things. And so that is why I take this thing so seriously. And like Sporting posting that Black History Month article I posted, like most clubs don't post that. And I'm still not sure they read it, because if they did, I'm still not sure they would have posted it. But it's real. When we're talking about race, like we are also talking about class, and we need to have that part be just as loud. Like we need to talk about the CRT of it all. And I happen to really enjoy that breakdown and analysis of it all. But we also need to talk about the income inequality of it all amongst all of us. Like some of those same policies, power has so much at its disposal to try to bury us into submission. And one of those things that power uses is race. But some of those same things and racial policies also affected poor whites and other types of immigrants. Now, granted, or indigenous folks, Native Americans, but it doesn't mean you can't have the same conversation in one breath, because we have to. So many folks think that, well, we should take the race of it all out of it. I don't think you need to do that. I'm just saying, like, it's race and it's all of it. And because life is improv, life is yes and. That is what this whole thing is. And if you know that, yes, we're improving and ad-libbing, but here is the foundation that is life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and a social democratic way that is multi-racial, multi-generational. It is intersectional, and circling back, intentional. That's all of that.
Yeah.
And sports is part of that. As much as we want to put on blinders, it's part of that. It's essential to that, especially in this country.
Sure. Man, so I'm really liking this answer. So I'm kind of hearing like, okay, so sports might be this kind of entry point for a lot of people to realize like, yo, we're in this together, and we can start, working for some other things beyond just sports, to accomplish in terms of, like you said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I feel like you also might have been touching in there a little bit on, what most urgently needs to change when it comes to racial equality, or maybe we'll say income equality, or all these other, or we're gonna say equality in sports.
Well, just wealth inequality, wealth disparity, the power disparity within sports. I mean, let's just have a conversation. I mean, within this last couple of years, college athletes, where was their union? Where was their collective power? Where were their demands getting answered in the middle of a pandemic? These are actual kids in some situations, like literally kids. Where was their voice in deciding how they wanted to get back to the field or back to the court, or if any of those things are we ready to do those things? And we just never got those answers. Like that's something to me where sports got us in the door, but it's so much bigger. The NIL debate right now, which has been really interesting to hear how the NIL framing has gone, because it seems to be a lot of rich folks pissed that kids got a little bit of power. It seems to me like a lot of coaches are clutching pearls that now a bunch of kids get some of the same, access to opportunity. Like you can put guardrails and regulations on it, sure, but like at its core, this is a worker argument gaining power. And it's so funny to hear and see some of the arguments, especially from who they're made sometimes, as you have coaches who have multi-million-dollar deals and didn't have to sit out a year for anything and have been recruited under the table from donors from every institution under the sun, so they can now become the new face of a program for a multi-million-dollar deal. But the same college sophomore can't explore the transfer window without you thinking he's some kind of, only in it for the money. What happened to the integrity of the game? What happened to these guys getting scholarships? Well, you know what they can't do? They can't work on those scholarships. And also, they can't get health care on some of these scholarships. I mean, I was on a full ride, and some of the medication that I take now for depression, anxiety, for just headaches and allergies, it's not even allowed. And, I remember with the Shakira sprinter, the U.S. Olympics situation we had a few years back, she's over here trying to smoke a little weed, because that is honestly the most efficient way to get any type of anxiety related treatment in college. Like, honestly, some of the stuff you're not allowed to take is like actually vital to how I function day to day now, and it's anyway, it's all related. It's all, I make it a long walk to say that it is all so related, and like we can pretend it's not, but honestly, I just don't have time for it. So what I can do is to take the voice that I have and the leverage, but that's not the right word. I guess the camaraderie, that's not the right word either. The relationships, maybe that's getting closer. The trust, that's the word, that you've built up, and you can then utilize that to help activate more folks. Because that's what it's about. Yeah. At the end of the day, I love going to soccer games and I love kicking it with our folks, but like my favorite part is chatting with somebody and having conversations like these, and then we end up texting next week and we get drinks, and all of a sudden we're sending each other Bernie Sanders memes, and like that's the best. Like that's the stuff I love. Yeah. Or I see them at a rally, or I see them just at brunch, or I see them just hanging around Kansas City, and then all of a sudden, we can do that point thing. It's like, hey, I know you, you know me, and it's bigger than just what the final score was at that game.
And we're knocking doors for Casey Tennis Power. Let's go.
Right. But like, yes, and like to be able to have folks who have come up to me at soccer games, at sporting, and to, you know, hey Hartzell, what's up? Just and throw me the fist. Or like to throw me like the yellow shirt they had underneath the sporting jersey. Like that's awesome. That's great.
That's pretty sweet.
It's awesome. And I also very much understand, like, you know, I poke the bear a lot. At any point I could say something that's gonna piss somebody off. And that's a risk I take every day. That doesn't make me some kind of like cool guy. It just means that I probably will never have a 9 to 5. But for as long as I got the platform, I'm gonna try to use it for good. And I'm not even kidding on this one. Like at some point, somebody might say enough's enough. But until that point, let's just keep poking the bear, you know?
Thank you for doing that.
Totally.
Okay, so maybe this is too broad a question, but you get to wave your magic wand and make one change in the sports world. I don't know if that's in, you know, something very specific for like sporting or something much more broadly, but like what is that thing that you can change today with that wave your wand?
Ooh, boy, that's a good one. That is a good one. I wish we could make the price point cheaper, just at large, every year, and that's just sports in general. I mean, we in a perfect world, every match is sold out, but not just because you wanted to like make a record or because of that. It's just like that's a family reunion. Like that is in my mind, when I'm on the field and doing that stuff, that's a packed picnic table at the reunion, you know. And so I'll always, you know, vouch for lower price points just because, you know, access, you know,
for sure.
You know, I guess. Can we get heady for a second? Can I get in the weeds a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
I would love for us to take some of the betification. That's not a word. Which is almost like kind of a gamification of sports, which I know it doesn't make any sense because it's a sport, but you know what I'm talking about though. The like by the gamization of it, I mean like the video game,
the like one level up gamification of it.
Yeah, and it's the
way,
perks of it all. It is the market of it all. It's like the gambling of it all. And I'm not this is not like an anti-betting thing. Like I bet, and I don't live on the Kansas side, but I would have voted for it, and I go to the Kansas side to bet now because Missouri can't. But like the overt like betting line of it all. Like it's like we're already this market driven everything. Like neoliberalism has done that to us, but like it's like so on the nose of like a post-world capitalism. Like everything is literally like you're incentivized only for the monetary value of it all, you know. And I get it. Maybe if I grew up in Vegas, it'd be a little bit different. I mean that actually very seriously. Like if I'm in a different environment, maybe, you know. And like I said, I bet, you know, all those things, but just the bombardment of capital, like on its nose. And like, that's just life. That's just like walking around. But like, it's just now we're not even like trying to pretend anymore. You know, like the betting line is on the ticker on ESPN now. And I'm again, like, is that a big deal to me? Maybe I'm like, you know, someone's listening right now saying, what's the big deal? And maybe it's not, but also like it is though, because we are just in such a crypto bro mentality. You know, it's like such a like interesting dynamic of where we are. And I don't even know why it like bugs me so much, but it does. And so like, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it feels like the way you're describing this feels to me in a similar way to a lot of just like capitalism in general, and the idea
Well,
that
yeah,
like
absolutely, yeah.
I'd say specifically that like the house always wins, in the sense that like, and I think ultimately, right, when you're talking about sports being a community and like sharing it with the people around you, that I think that when, you know, right, on the whole, the house, whatever that might be, is kind of extracting from that, that's gonna have a negative effect on the whole community aspect of it and everything that you're describing.
It's
I don't know.
just, it's
I can't put it
so
in better
odd.
words, but like
Well, right,
that's
and I
kind of
don't
what I'm
think
getting
I'd
from what
put
you're
it.
saying. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure I put it in any better words. It's just like, it's just a really interesting place that we're at, because it happened just so fast. Just overnight, we're just like really okay with it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have been okay with it. It's just interesting. It's just really
Yeah.
interesting about, yeah. And I'm not entirely sure there's any way to put up a brakes to that. I think, and we're probably past that point, to be honest. But
Yeah. I'd
um,
agree with that also.
I think, and we are, but
Yeah.
like it's like we're probably also past the point of, getting rid of self checkouts. But I'll be honest, I'm that guy that still will try to find a way to talk to a person. Like, I will be that guy, and they probably hate me, and maybe I am the worst, but I'm that guy still who, if I see somebody in electronics, I'm gonna go check out that guy in electronics. Like, he has one register and probably has like very little change to give me, so I, of course, use my card. But like, no, I'm gonna check out with a person. And like, this isn't me like, get off my lawn, old man. It's just like, hold on. Like, at the end of the day, we cannot forget about the people of it all. Like, it's one thing, like, I can go to a game and experience it and like root for my team and like root for like these athletic like gods on the field, men, women, I mean, everywhere in between. Like, to see people who are just like at the best of what they do, like, I'm captivated by that. And yeah, I would like to make a couple bucks off of a bet, but like, let's not forget that what we're seeing is like special, like, because these people are doing special things. And again, maybe I do sound like an old man now. I really am. I'm listening to myself, but like, like, you know, I don't know. Just, it's weird to me that it just seems so natural, I guess.
And this
And here we are.
this conversation is reminding me of something that really, as John knows, grinds my gears.
Yes.
Probably grinds his too. Is for this
been
year
thinking
now,
this.
for the first time, when you turn on a Major League Baseball game, many teams, and I bet those Royals are not far away because they have an open sleeve right now. You see an ad on their sleeves. NHL is doing it on their jerseys this year. They've done it on helmets for a while. The NBA is putting ad on the jerseys. The NFL, I'm told, is considering ads on both the jerseys and the helmets. And man, that just drives me up a wall.
What is another
And
argument that again, like, and they've been doing ads on jerseys in Europe forever. I get that, and
right.
they did it. I get that, but it's just a bigger conversation on like the market rules all decisions kind of
Yes.
thing. Like,
Yeah.
how I see things is based off of the line or based off of the index that day and all that. You know what I mean? It's all that same kind of like culture of it all. And like, even how we protest now, like, look at this nonsense with the Bud Light stuff. Like, protesting is to what really is protesting now is my dollar, as opposed to the issue or the solidarity or the being out there and being seen and bring, it's now just, well, I'm just not going to pay for that. And like, I'm the economic side that went to like the Montgomery bus boycotts. And I mean, like, that's one of the reasons why, I mean, there's an argument to be made that's why we saw the changes, because all of a sudden they realized that Black folks ain't paying to be on the bus anymore. They're not, like, so yes, the economic incentive is like very integral to that. But like, it's so much now that you see in activism is purely a capitalistic construct of protesting or of advocacy. And it's just so interesting. Like that, I don't have any other insightful nuance other than it's just really interesting.
Yeah.
This
So I want to go back.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that interview that I referenced that everyone should read on Sporting's website. And you say in there this quote that I pulled from that because I really like it. You said, we can go buy BLM shirts. We can buy BLM shirts and pride shirts. That is a win because representation matters, but money is being made off of that. The conversation has gone nowhere, but money has been made. That was intentional. Capital drives the movement.
I wrote that. That was a decent little line. I forgot about that line.
Man,
but it's true. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about
Fire.
and there's, I mean, it is absolutely related, you know, like you can buy those shirts at Target now. And I think it's absolutely a correlation that you don't hear the same kind of conversations or like the public opinions, because now there was a moment where I think the actual social fabric of this country was up for grabs. And those who were in power, the power dynamics also were up for grabs. You had a pandemic that gave way to true social democratic programs, some of the closest things we've gotten since the New Deal. You had a government that was like working for the people, like using those things it's endowed to do because like this is what we said we would do for you from day one. And that freaked a lot of people out. Like, how can I in good faith tell you that, and we're here and we're experiencing this now, how can I in good faith tell you that for 3 years you don't need to make a student loan payment and all of a sudden you got to? Or how can I in good faith tell you that we can give a child income tax credit and lower poverty in half, cut childhood poverty in half? My follow-up question is, well, why don't we just cut all of it? But my second follow-up to that is, well, you mean to tell me that happened and we still got rid of it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh no, it's just gone again.
It's again like we got so close to getting back to this, you know, Keynesian idea of economics where it's like for the social good of it all. And what do they tell us to do? Go back to work. You know, they got to get us to contribute our labor to their profits again. Look at all the profits that were made in the pandemic. Look at the child labor laws that we're seeing now. And the restrictions on healthcare and abortions, which is all this idea. It's a reactionary idea that we are nothing more than vessels for capital. We are there at their whim, and we are here to produce for them. And women are nothing more than incubators, and everybody else is a slave to big business. And that includes kids. Migrant kids, which is what a lot of these bills were for. These bills that are now, you know, regressing and taking away these child labor laws. And now, I mean, this isn't for white kids. This is for immigrant kids. These are for migrant workers and their kids, because if we making it so that you get rid of requirements and all these things. If a young white or black kid, right? If a young, you know, white kid wanted to go work at Dairy Queen, he go get his, and he wanted his, said his parents signed his waiver for him, he can go work there. But that's not what this is for. And like, if you, again, like, we have to get in the weeds of these things. Like, what is actually happening is a reactionary project that is well funded. It has been around for generations. It goes back from Reconstruction until now. We had, you know, some of the most progressive actions in this country came out of Reconstruction. And then what do we have what do we have happen after that? The redemptionists. And you've got the, you know, the fake glory of the South, and like, it's a reactionary response. And then what do you have out of the 30s, all the progressive movements of the early 19th or early 20th century? Well, then you have this attack on the New Deal, and you've got the reactionaries and the Reagan Revolution. Like, all these things are not connected. And what I am saying is, like, sports is also part of that. How we respond to it, because it is that mirror, is absolutely part of that. When we make fun of those Budweiser idiots who are like paying for beer and then busting it, which is like, what is self-own, you know, like, that is a part of this reactionary response. Like, that is all part of it. And and sports is a tool they use to help that end, you know? And so anyway, it's a long walk to say that it's also connected. And, you know, I was looking at this number. Actually, I was looking at this number today. Like the public opinion polls on Black Lives Matter. To see where it was after George Floyd was murdered to where it is now. It's not a coincidence that they flipped on its head, and it's not a coincidence that on that same vein, the top 1% made astronomical amounts of money in an actual pandemic. It's all related that housing has gone through the roof. And we as a country nationally have not even thought about addressing it. We try to do things on the local level. We can do as much as we can, but like realistically, when we talk about housing, that's a federal thing. And it's all about, we have just been beaten to submission to like think that we deserve peanuts and like we can do good on the margins. And we just want a little bit of breathing room. I want just a little bit of breathing room. These are good folks. We just want a little bit of room. Well, God damn it. What about some more room after that? Because that bandwidth is already up. So I need some more room. And that's endowed unto us. That more room we're talking about, it's the pursuit of happiness. And I'm here for that. And I think that our window is still open. Even down the highway from St. Louis to Topeka. Their window is a little bit different. I think ours is still open. And maybe I'm being naive, but I still believe it's still open. So I still think that there's a chance to do something dope.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just fucking do it.
Okay. I can't, on my good conscience, on Earth Day, recording on Earth Day, not bring this up. So you're talking about all the issues.
I'm an indica guy.
Close to all
Indica versus sativa. I'm an indica guy. Oh, was that not the question? Oh, sorry.
That was my first question, but I had a follow-up, which was, yeah. So I mean, all these issues are related, right? And as you're pointing out, and one of them is that this, kind of capitalist treadmill is causing is that, yeah. Oh, by the way, also we're like destroying the world that we live on, every day in some pretty scary and serious ways. Full disclosure, I just finished reading Greta Thunberg's book, the climate book that came out.
So I've got it downloaded. I haven't finished it yet, but I got it downloaded. I have heard it's excellent.
Wow.
But yeah, like it's the Game of Thrones argument. Like, are we gonna battle around looking at who's gonna sit on the Iron Throne, or are we gonna take care of the White Walkers who are literally like at our doorstep? This is the like existential threat of our time, and we're gonna approve the Willow Project. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing? And Greta, interestingly enough, she really criticizes the media pretty heavily in that book, and says like, well, obviously the fossil fuel industry, obviously electric utilities, obviously all the people we normally do and should criticize at the end of the day are trying to make a buck in this system. And the media also, I think, is not immune to that, right? I think there are definitely financial interests that control what is and isn't said on the media and what stories are and aren't told. But she says like, well, during the pandemic, at least for the first year of the pandemic, and especially early on, the media just gave us the facts and people reacted. And she would argue early on reacted in a pretty positive way. You can talk about how certain countries really botched their efforts, which is definitely a thing, could have been done better. But the fact that people just stayed home for like months and wore face masks, all this crazy stuff that maybe didn't last, but like people really changed their lives by and large very quickly with very short notice, because it was like, whoa, we have an emergency, and the media told us we had an emergency, and that they are not telling that same thing when it comes to what is happening in the world. She said in April, one of those early months of 2020, I forget what it was, but the very sobering statistic of how many people died of COVID in that month. And then she said, oh, by the way, I forget what the exact number was. It was like 800,000, like so many orders of magnitude larger people died due to effects of climate change that month, and they die every month, and the media doesn't tell that story like it's an emergency. So anyway, I'm rambling here.
Well,
but
yeah,
I guess
you make some great point. I mean, it's like, yes, I mean, how can we say that something is the gravest, most existential threat to our society and then still continue to approve and then justify projects like Keystone or the Willow Project? I mean, you made a good point. It's like, it's not even just like what gets covered or reported, what does or does not. I would argue it's even more important is that it's how it gets covered, because so many folks can say, well, we talk about that. Well, yeah, you do, but you don't talk about it, right? If you're going to talk about teachers striking in Chicago, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear the parents' rights representative who also was yelling about COVID manufactured. I mean, like, don't, for the sake of saying that it was a bipartisan or both sides, that's just not true. Like, for this, both siding for the sake of it is just not real. And so it's how we have to be. Like I said earlier, it's like the intentional of it all. Like, what is the intention? What are the motivations? And for so many of these people, and like in some of the spaces I've gotten a chance to occupy, I know some of these folks, and like, self-interest is a trip. And some of the same folks who are supporting, folks who don't give a damn about the environment are the same folks that support people who do. Like, the cynicism in this thing is baked into the cake, and it's a damn shame, because we lose people on the way who just think that the thing is rigged, not in like a fake rigged for like a personal gain, but like actually just not worth it. Rigged into the fact where it's like, what's in it for me regardless. And like, that's what terrifies me. That's what keeps me up every night, is that it is worth it. But, and how can I in good faith try to get someone to come back in this thing and do it with me? Let me join you even on your journey. How it's so tough to reach that person when they feel like they're not getting talked to. No one's walking with them, period. And even if they did, some backroom deal's gonna F the whole thing up by the time I get around to it anyway. It's just, that's the part that, and I don't have a good answer for that. I think part of it is just like, me speaking up about stuff that's not just box scores. Because we need more people who do that with platforms, but I don't have a better answer yet, but I tell you what, hearing Patrick Mahomes mention Ralph Yarl last week and have him mention the words accountability and Justice Department, like, that's huge. That is huge. We need folks like that. I mean, we're not that far removed from the days of I'm just black, I'm not black, I'm just OJ. We're not far removed from the days of Tiger Woods telling Bill Clinton to F off. He doesn't want to go to the Jackie Robinson thing. He's busy that day. And like, this is a true story. And Bill Clinton says, Tiger, I'm the president. I can send you a plane wherever. Oh man, Mr. President, I'm just busy. I mean, and it was literally because
he was partying with his friends in Mexico.
Didn't want to touch that. I don't want to touch the race thing. I'm just Tiger. I make a bunch of money from white folks and black folks. So, but like, those days are done. And I'm not going to criticize you or blame you if you're not that person. I just don't have a ton of time for you. So, if you got the platform, you're not using it for something that's bigger than yourself, like I keep saying, I mean, more power to you. Like, but we're just probably not going to kick it at the reunion. That's fine. I'm going to gather more folks at this table, and you can go be an asshole over there. Or be disengaged, but just know that this comes for all of us at some point. When the Dobbs decision came down and Roe v. Wade was overturned, yes, like, birthing folks got a right taken away. That's never happened before, as far as I know, the Supreme Court taking a right away. So yeah, that happened to birthing folks, but it happened to all of us because we're all Americans. So all of us lost something that day. All of us are losing something when we get rights taken away, or when mifepristone, a drug that's been A-okayed by the FDA for 20 plus years, all of a sudden goes away because this like fundamentalist theocratic judge says so. and then bases an actual like decision based in like actual conspiracy theories. Like those, like read that decision from the Fifth Circuit. Like it's actually just riddled with like stuff you would see on like 4chan. Like this shit is happening, and it's having real effects on real Americans, like actual folks. Like we're not talking like this idea of maybe one day. No, it's here. And on every level, no matter where we are, it's time to get in the game. Even if it means taking some heats in the notifications of an app that nobody gives a damn about. It's just at some point, I don't know. And maybe this is where I get in trouble, but I am someone who very much believes that like it's bigger than this, and lines got to be drawn in the sand. And if not now, then when? So let's just do it now, And that being said, though, I don't have the same bank account as Patrick Mahomes. So, I guess I don't think we have the same problems to deal with. That said, it was awesome to see him do that, and I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, totally.
Let's go, Patrick.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Man, I'm annoyed because there's like so many different things that I want to like continue to ask about. Like,
I'm the worst. I just keep going and going.
This is great. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. It has my mind
part two.
And like a lot of things that
we might need to do a part two.
About,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're probably close on time.
I got a little bit more time. Okay. You tell me.
Cool. Yeah. Anyway, man, I don't know. I don't. If you had a question, Adam, I'm just thinking.
I think we usually we'll ask you a question that we ask everyone at the end.
Sure.
But man, I think we've maybe some people say like, man, those guys are their fair share complaining on that podcast in an hour, and I would say rightly so.
I don't think we complain that much. We've been very optimistic. I don't think we complain much at all.
Yeah,
we're practicing promises.
There's a lot of benefit to pointing out things that could very obviously be changed for the better for like everyone, though. I don't know. Like I think like there's a line also to be drawn between just complaining and like having a point about something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
absolutely.
This ain't right.
That's the follow-up episode right there, my friends. We're gonna dig into that. That was deep. Oh my god.
Okay, so maybe to give people just like a taste. I'm just curious. You brought up Patrick Mahomes and some comments that he made, but in the media, like I said, Greta was very in her book very critical of the media for not telling a story that needs to be told. But maybe the flip side of that, like, is there anyone that you look to as someone who is in the media business that you look to as like a role model? Like, man, this person does do a really good job of telling stories that should be told.
That's a great question. No one actually really ever asked me that question, and I really appreciate that. Because I'm a student of a lot of things. Sometimes all the things all at once, to be honest with you. I'm not lying. I draw a lot of inspiration off of professional wrestling. I love it passionately. From Howard Finkel to, and he was just the ring announcer, but from Howard Finkel to Mean Gene Okerlund to Jesse the Body Ventura to Bret Hart to The Rock to Stone Cold, especially like actually towards the end of the run of Stone Cold, like his actual funny stuff was hilarious. God, I mean, but also folks like MLK and A. Philip Randolph, who helped give us the freedom budget. People forget that the March on Washington was for jobs and freedom. The Green New Deal is based a lot on the freedom budget. It's got a 21st century economic bill of rights, essentially, which was going to be FDR's thing. But he passed. God, I mean, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, if you want to talk about more, folks from the past. Greta Thunberg. I mean, just how she puts together an argument. Like, you would think that's not related at all to sports, but like, It is like how to put together like a thing that's quick, that's gonna hit them where it hurts for good or for bad. How do I make them feel? How do I do this concisely? All that stuff. And then, like the showmanship of it all, So like the 90s rock meets like Ric Flair, but like not problematic Ric Flair, like just like the style of Ric Flair. Just that mindset. It's a kayfabe mentality. I keep coming back to pro wrestling, but like a lot of it is that. I mean, I watch Democracy Now with Amy Goodman, The Majority Report, Sam Cedar, Emma
Yes,
Vigeland.
amen.
They're great. Love their content. Left Reckoning's great with Matt. I've got a chance to talk to some of those folks a few times, which is great. I study historians like Harvey J.K., who's one of my best friends and like actually a brother to me, and he's probably 30 years older than I am. But like we are kindred spirits, and it's amazing. He's like my radical socialist professor from Green Bay, who I read as a kid and read in college, and just hit him up on Twitter in a DM and said, "Hey, can I talk to you for something?" He was doing an article on like Josh Hawley or something, like the phony populism of Josh Hawley and how it's actually like a challenge to the left. And I thought it was a fascinating piece. We're from Missouri. I said, let's just have you on. And we've been doing a segment now every Tuesday on my podcast for over 2 years, he's family. And, I got a chance to help contribute a small portion to like, some notes that he gave to Marianne Williamson, who's now running for president, and I got a chance to talk to her, and she's fascinating. And again, believe it or not, all this shit is actually interrelated to the dumb dog and pony I do at a sporting game, because I bring all of that to the performance. So like that same dude who can post the Black History Month, retrospective on the website is gonna do the Domino's pizza shuffle. But best believe that, the young radical can do the Domino's spot, and I think that there's something really special about that. I get that I occupy a lot of lanes, and that makes it very hard for me to steer and for anyone else to see where I'm coming from. But I think there's value to that, because as long as you're heading in the right direction, more lanes just means more room to wiggle, and so as long as we're going straight, we're headed somewhere, then well, why not take up a little bit of space?
Totally. Well, I feel like you're doing a good job of it. Again, like I said, there's a lot run through my mind on this. We do usually wrap up the show by asking the same question for everyone. So we'll ask you just no other things around it. Just to you, Hartzell, why are sports important?
Sports are important. Gosh, I think we kind of described it this entire episode loosely.
I was gonna say, I feel like this whole thing is
think about it. Think
but...
about it. Sports got me on this show. Think about. Folks will have tuned into this thinking it was gonna be one thing, and it was absolutely different. And I love that. Like that. That's sports to me. Sports is walking in to the arena, the stadium, and it's being captivated. Sports is the agony of defeat. Sports is the thrill of victory. Sports is the victory celebration after that. Sports is a team. Sports is coalition building. It is all of it. It is so much of putting just life into practice is sports, and while each sport is different, we bring different things and different life experiences. All of us do that. And we take that, we mold it, we craft it, and what we need to do and what objective we're trying to achieve. and we go and do it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes, as we did all of it, win, lose, or draw, you did it with people. You did it with folks you loved or folks you hated, but you all did it together. That's sport, sports watching on the couch because I was moved to set my calendar at 6:30 because I know that at 6:30 on Saturday, Sporting's going to play. And I'm not going to miss that. I don't know what it was in the brain that fired to make you do that, but you did it. That's sports, Sports is the press conference afterwards where you learned something you didn't know, you were shocked, you were upset. That's sports. Sports is all of it. Sports is what pays my bills. It's also what I spend my money on. It's one of the reasons why we get up and do this thing every day. It's another reason for us to keep going. And if we break that down to what it really means, what does it mean to really keep going? Does that mean conversations? Does that mean literally just eating and breathing? Am I supporting others? Whatever it means to make it to the next thing, all of that, how heavy that is, all the weight that carries, sports contributes to giving us another reason to stay at the dance. The party might suck, the drinks are lukewarm, room temperature at best, and the music is all right. But you know what? We're already here. We're at the club. I'm already inside. I paid cover. Why don't we just, let's go get another drink. Let's just see how this plays out. All we want to do is, because I've been hospitalized. I tried to take my own life before. And when you've had those moments where you don't see hope anymore and you don't have a reason to go and make it to another day, you realize that it's that process of getting to the next thing that is everything. And so, if sports helps us get to the next thing, then God bless the sports.
Amen. Man, I'm looking forward to part 2, Hartzell. This has
Absolutely
been incredibly.
I for one am very serious.
Incredibly
I was very much like you.
No, I've had a blast. We're doing part 2. You guys let me know. This has been great. I've loved this. That was a genuine comment. I don't know what folks thought this was gonna be, but it was not that. And I am so happy that it ended up being what it is.
Yeah,
fully agreed.
That's it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Well, thank you so much, Hartzell. And looking forward to next time.
Oh, absolutely. Adam, John, I appreciate you all. Seriously, part 2 en route. We're doing that.
Let's do it. Super cool.
Yeah. See y'all.
Well, until then, from the mountains of Colorado, we'll say Rockies of Colorado, to the banks of Missouri.
Lovely this time of year.
Amen.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks to our listeners from points in between and not in between. Until next time, he's John and I'm Adam. Stay classy, Frostburg.